What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so in this particular video, I want to talk about something that I have touched on. I think I've talked about it on the Patreon a little bit some years ago, but I don't know if I've really talked about this on YouTube, not as far as a video is concerned. I think I've touched on it in talking about Steve Harvey, but I want to talk about something that Katt brought up, which I think is making it relevant to talk about again right now. And that is the beef that started between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey, which really started with Steve Harvey. Now, just to do a little bit of a backstory here, what I can remember, Steve Harvey has a history of being like a jealous, rogue, scoundrel ass nigga. You know what I mean? I'm just sorry. The fact that he stole jokes from people, in particular Mark Curry. Mark Curry talked about this several years ago in interviews, how he stole this whole Halloween joke bit verbatim pretty much from him. He pretty much stole Mark Curry's Hang with Mr. Cooper sitcom basis from him when years later he did, the Steve Harvey show, which was not even as funny as Mark Curry's show. Just a thief ass nigga, man. He was real jealous. So I tell you what, before I go forward, let me play this audio from Katt Williams that is from an interview with Shannon Sharp from Club Shay Shay.
Do you consider yourself a king of comedy? Where does Katt?
No, they consider that. Like when after Bernie left, them same three guys I'm telling you about, the Kings.
Yeah.
Right? Because DL is the greatest.
Yeah.
There's no DL slander gets tolerated. But they came to me. I was supposed to be the fourth king. I got the offer.
Then what happened?
But I turned it down.
Why?
Because you shit on Bernie. And I know the truth. You think I'm gonna let you shit on Bernie and then come get me? I'm the next king? Fuck you. Why? Because the whole time Bernie was here, you was acting like you was funnier than him. The reason you was supposed to go last is because it was your tour. Tell the truth. It was Steve's tour. Not it was going to be called the Kings of Comedy. It was Steve's tour. These are the guys opening for him. Of course you got to close if it's your tour. That's why it was such a big deal. But you couldn't do it because you can't beat the best. And until you humble yourself, you will forever be kinged by the king. And because you finally did it, because you had no other choice, and now that he gone, you gonna act like he wanted to be a movie star. You stop it. You stop it. That man was funnier than all of y'all, and y'all thought y'all had one over on him. You thought he was black and ugly, and you were good looking, and he couldn't make it because you did. And that ain't the way comedy works. The king is the funniest. Period. Every time. And that's why no audience member was ever swayed. It didn't matter where Bernie went. You think if Bernie went first, he wasn't the king? Get out of here. Get out of here. Get your ego out of this. You let the best be the best. Right?
Katt Williams, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming on, bro. I really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing
Thank you.
the stories, setting the record straight. Now, you know they're going to double back.
Impossible. Impossible. Only because once you play this back, you'll realize I didn't say anything that made me look in a good light. I wasn't tearing down others to boost myself up. But I do have to acknowledge things that did not take place. Like, we're very ingenuous if we say this is not a game and we don't play it and people ain't in positions and people don't have their favorites and they group and they click. And,
right.
Well, that happens in all businesses.
Right.
No. Say what side you on. Say why you don't like the other side. And then get to the game. But in the game, I'm wiping the field with them to the point where they don't even compete anymore.
Well, that's, he kind of talking about himself after a while. But yeah, all this stuff that that he's telling you and telling us, I've said this before from research, from people that have known the situation, talking anonymously. And Bernie Mac talked about this. Now, and I had one detail wrong. I said it was Jet Magazine. I thought it was Jet Magazine, but it might have been Ebony Magazine. But I do know this. It was from 2003. Bernie Mac did an interview. And that's how that's when I first became aware. This was 20 years ago, 21 years ago. Bernie Mac talked about a lot of this stuff, man. It shocked me. How when he secured the role, or just about secured the role for Ocean's 11, Steve Harvey, Mr. Oh, I ain't coming to Hollywood to be no movie star. Bullshit. Because your agent, your people, called the producers of that movie to try to talk them into giving Steve Harvey the role that was meant for Bernie Mac. That's how jealous he was of Bernie Mac. And if you listen, Katt Williams talks about how the Kings of Comedy tour was built around Steve Harvey. Because at that time, Steve Harvey was the only real star like that. Remember, Steve had already had his own TV show. Cedric wasn't really... I mean, yeah, Cedric was on the show, but Cedric was sort of like a supporting star. DL was known for Comic View, I believe, at that time. Bernie really hadn't... Can't remember. Go back to 1999. Bernie really wasn't established like that in Hollywood yet. Like, we knew him for certain roles. We knew him for, like, The Preacher on Friday, Colors, have mercy. Remember him for the cuckold husband from, what was that movie called? Sprung. It smelled like Badussy, booty, dick, and pussy. We knew him. Probably his biggest role was Players Club. Dollar Bill. Nothing. You don't get the fuck out of my motherfucking face, you stupid punk motherfucker. but he hadn't really, he ain't really blow up until, matter of fact, the Kings of Comedy tour, that bit about the kids and I want some milk and cookies, that's what led to Fox pitching that show for him, and that's when he had his show, and that's when he blew the fuck up off that tour. He blew the fuck up off that tour. And that's when the movies came. But Steve Harvey was jealous because Steve was supposed to be the closer. That was his tour. But they was noticing Bernie was getting the loudest reactions. Bernie was the one getting the loudest applauses, the loudest jokes. So then, I think they kind of tried to shuffle Steve around. Shuffle Bernie around. But no matter where they put him at, Bernie was getting the loudest laugh. To the point where, finally, they said, okay, we're just going to have him as the closer. He going to be the last guy. But that had to hurt Steve Harvey's soul because that was his tour, and usually the main headliner goes last. Think about it. When you think about the Kings of Comedy tour, do any of us really remember any of Steve's material? Because all I can remember is Bernie Mac, some of Cedric shit, like about the black fucking enforcing in hockey. That was some funny shit. The other joke about that allegedly he stole from Katt Williams. I remember DL a little bit. Matter of fact, there was DL on that tour that he joined later. But anyway, I don't really remember much of Steve's shit, man. But then fast forward, yeah, it got to a point where Bernie Mac approached Steve Harvey about, what the fuck are you doing, bro? We supposed to be friends. Why are you trying to take this role from me? That shit came out of Steve Harvey. And supposedly they got into an altercation. Steve put his hands on Bernie Mac. They ain't talked for the rest of Bernie Mac's life, allegedly. They didn't talk to each other. That was it. This 2002, 2003. Unfortunately, Bernie died, 2008? All of a sudden, Steve Harvey show up with crocodile tears. All of a sudden, he show up crying, bald-headed. And the reason why he's bald-headed now is because allegedly he got into a fight. If my memory serves me correctly and the information is correct, he got into a fight at some celebrity. He got into an altercation at some celebrity pool party or cookout or something. He got into an altercation, and his goddamn man unit, as Katt Williams called it, slipped off his head. So you had everybody thinking. I've been told people. I said that's not his hair. Well, I ain't even say I've been told people because I thought it was his hair too until about 2007, 2008. That's when I started reading that he was wearing a wig. I told people, I said, that's a wig, man. Man, ain't no wig, man. That's that man hair, man. I said, nah, bro, that ain't his hair. Because if you go back to 1991, 92, some old Steve Harvey stand-ups from back then, his hairline was receding. His shit was thinning on top then. I said, that man wearing a wig, man. And then it was found out he was wearing a wig. But I just don't like Steve Harvey, man, because I just think that he's a snake. I think he did a lot of people wrong. He's a joke stealer, a bit stealer. I think he did a lot of his ex-girls wrong. He's a nasty motherfucker. We remember those goddamn emails. People forget shit. Remember the emails that came out about how he didn't want people. Don't approach me if you see me in the hall. Don't talk to me. Don't look me in the eye. All that bullshit. Remember that? Even if it's somebody he's known for years, make an appointment to talk to me about stuff. Now I understand. When you get busy, you got a lot of shit. You don't have time to talk to everybody. But a motherfucker can say hello. A motherfucker can say hello. Hey, how you doing, Steve? Small talk for a couple of seconds. That ain't nothing wrong with that. You're not that fucking important that you can't do that. So anyway, that's all I got to say about this one for right now, man. Tell me what you guys think.